And let's list it below market, 51,000 below what you say you want to net out of this thing. And we're going to say owner will carry. And we had, oh my gosh, we were inundated. We had to run it auction style where
Right.
we got so many things in. It's like, hey, submit your highest and best. We're going to do one multiple counter and that's it. And it was like less than a week. We're going to make a decision by Friday. And he got a $550,000 cash offer, just like,
Come on.
and
Oh,
like,
yes.
like in a week.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Well, welcome everybody to Owner Financing and Note Investing Podcast. This is Dawn Rickabaugh, your host and the owner of NoteQueen.com. And today I've got a special surprise for you, Tim Street. He has come on the scene fast and hard, although he has a really rich background, and I think you're going to like him. I like him. He's the type of guy I would have on my show, in fact. So anyway, Tim, before I waste too much time flapping my jaw, let's just let you introduce yourself and, the background, what you've been, where you are, where you're going, and how you want to help in the market.
Well, Miss Dawn Rickabaugh, it's such a pleasure to finally get on here with you. I really appreciate you giving me the time here, and I appreciate your audience putting up with me. I'm the founder of a company called Foolproof FSBO, and I exist today primarily as an educator in the real estate space. And my mission is to let individual homeowners know that they actually can sell on their own without a real estate agent and potentially save 100% of that equity and put it toward their next project. And this speaks really deeply to me because I'm also a real estate investor. I'm a real estate agent. And so a lot of people might think, real estate agents hate me for coming out with this message. And nothing could be further from the truth because I'm providing people a really nice, soft place to land. So even in the event they're unsuccessful selling, I'm going to still be able to direct them in the right way. And as an investor, as you know, every dollar we save throughout the transaction is leveraged into something even greater in the future. So that's why I'm so excited to carry this out to the investor community.
Oh, well, fantastic. So just for the people that don't know, what's FSBO?
So FSBO is an acronym for sale by owner. And so the biggest difference here is in the past, the default action has always been, gosh, I need to sell my house. I'm going to call up a real estate agent. And, that made sense when I was growing up because the real estate agents, they had the access to all the information. There was no Zillow when I was growing. We still used travel agents when I was growing up. We still had the Avon lady, so it was a much different world. But well, today, when my mom and dad can log on to Zillow and actually have access to a whole network of buyers, the real estate agent really is valuable in certain niche situations. And those are things where there's maybe some legal encumbrances with the property. Maybe the property is subject to a divorce or a bankruptcy, perhaps a estate sale, probate. Anytime the law's involved, I say, send it to an agent, write that check to them and laugh all the way to the bank because they're going to go through legal hell trying to get that thing sold for you. But when you have, a couple, a stay-at-home mom, and they have, a lot of equity in that home and they need as much of that to get into the next step. Maybe it's a college fund for their kids. Maybe it's retirement. This is an option that people should really be taking a hard look at.
Yeah, a lot of people that extra 4, 5, 6% would really solve a lot of problems. Or some people just don't have it, right? They don't have the commission, so I don't know. From my perspective, like I have I had my real estate license back in when I lived in LA 20 plus years ago or so. And then I let it go, and then I got it again just because it makes sense to have other ways to go. But I've always sold my own properties because I'm comfortable with real estate, right? Or actually, I will say there's times when I do hire a real estate agent and they're worth their weight in gold, right? So it's
Yep.
not just one size fits all. But for what happens when people are trying to save the money, they don't know what they don't know. And they could certainly benefit from an agent who can show them, here's how you sell for sale by owner without needing me. And you probably, I think you have some sort of, I don't know, form intake or a quiz that says, this is for you but if not, you might want to do these other things. Did I remember correctly?
You sure did. Yeah, it's the quiz. It's if you go to my website, which is Foolproof FSBO. Again, that's foolproof because I tried to make it as foolproof as possible. And then FSBO is the acronym. So foolprooffsbo.com/quiz. I put together, it'll take you 2 minutes, a 7-question quiz. And it really kind of cuts to the crux of, are you the type of person who has the lifestyle and the temperament and the asset condition in order to sell by owner? Because you might not. For example, if I'm dealing with my friend who's a cardiologist and he makes $30,000 a day at work, I'm not going to tell him to take 7 days off of work to come save $30,000 in commissions by selling his own home. That's ridiculous.
Right.
So obviously, there are certain instances where it just does make sense to outsource. My message is really toward people who, again, I think of my parents. I think of myself actually when I was younger, and when we really needed to net every penny out of that house sale that we could. I absolutely am a big believer in sweat equity. Even in my investment properties, I go over there and I'll do some of the work. And I know a lot of my investor friends are like that. I'll see my investor friends skipping going fishing on the weekends or going golfing because they're putting in tile in a bathroom. To me, when I think about, well, if they're going to spend a whole weekend to save maybe $5,000 on a tile job, why shouldn't they at least explore this and save tens of thousands of dollars by doing this? And also, it's not DIY. And that's the other thing, Dawn, that I like to get across. All I'm doing is I'm teaching you to use the same people that I use as a real estate agent. So I don't go and do my own title searches and get titles. I work with a title company. I don't write up my own contracts. I use contracts that have been pre-filled and they're reviewed by a legal professional. I don't go take my own photos. I don't do my own inspections. And this is the point here. So much of what used to happen when you're real estate, you had to do a lot of things that's now become a great deal product management in the right scenario. If it's not a complex sale, and I know some of my sales that I took as a agent were easy, and then others I wouldn't want to do again for 10 times the commission. So on the easy ones, it was a project management job. So that quiz is going to kind of tell you, hey, Don, yep, you are well suited to go this route, or no, you probably should stick with an agent. But in that case, talk to Tim anyway, because I have a whole network of agents across this country that have agreed to work with my people for reduced commissions. So you're still going to save tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, well, that's a great value proposition. Yeah, like I said, I've since I know how to do everything related to it, I usually do. But
Yeah,
sometimes I use an agent, and then sometimes, and if you know well enough, there's, I don't know, do you flat fee MLS? Do you suggest that? Because
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, for $300-400 flat, you can just access the MLS and get all of that juice. There's all sorts of ways to do it. And one of the ideas that I was excited talking to you about is engaging in your audience. Also, we were talking, saying a lot of people don't know about seller financing, and they don't know when it would be appropriate and how it can be so powerful. When you talk about stacking, what could you do with the money, and what else are you going to do money if you sell for cash? This is particularly rental landlord owners.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do with the cash? You're going to stick it in the bank at 2%, 3%? Why not make 4, 5, 6, 7, 8%? Carrying. And there's just so many people don't know about it. Agents don't know about it. And so likewise, I'm building a network of agents that know a little bit about seller financing, or at least they're open to learning and coordinating with someone like me who often does consulting in these situations. But of course, they have to be with a brokerage that doesn't flat out say, no, you can't do owner financing, But
Yeah, and yeah, that's the tough part. But like, I love where you're going with this, because how wonderful would it be? And I don't actively sell homes anymore, but my wife sure does, and some of my best friends do. And how nice is it for them to walk in to a listing appointment and say, hey, you know what? a lot of these guys are all a dime a dozen, and I'm probably not terribly different than anybody else out there. I put my pants on one leg at a time. But what if I was able to expand your buyer pool dramatically? What if I was able to, even in these massively insane interest rates and crazy underwriting processes, what if I could make the purchase process for your buyers dead simple? Oh my gosh, what a great story to tell. And that's owner financing. And a lot of people they are sleeping on owner financing. And I've always said it's one of the craziest things. When I was an agent, people would call and ask me about it. And they would be shocked when I would talk to the home seller about it, because most agents just say, no, they wouldn't be interested in that because they don't know enough about it. They don't know anything about it.
No, I've come across that so much. They won't even submit the offer.
Yeah.
Right. But it's kind of being like the exchangers in real estate are probably the smartest, most flexible, creative thinking people I've ever met. I'll trade you the 2 dogs for the 1 boat, and we'll swap the equity, and no cash equity even changes.
You got to love that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. I think let's just dig a little bit into like who you are before you were in real estate. Where you're a Marine, are you not?
Yeah, true. Yep.
Like, let's see, who's Tim?
I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. I went right into the Marine Corps out of high school. We certainly didn't have the money, and I honestly didn't have the desire for any more school. I kind of felt like school was a prison, so I couldn't wait to get out. So the Marines were like my ticket out of Detroit, Michigan. It was the greatest thing ever, and I'm just so thrilled that I did it. It was the toughest thing I ever did at the time, but looking back on it, I mean, wow, I couldn't imagine my life being any better had I chosen a different direction in the first place. So I'm thrilled to have done it. So honored. Lost friends along the way and met amazing people along the way. And it really, for a 19, 20-year-old kid, it really does make you world weary, kind of in a good way. I guess you have to choose what the world's going to do, right? I mean, I chose to take those experiences and grow from them, have it make me tougher, and not, I don't know if tougher is the right word. I learned to not have expectations from life that I didn't deserve. How about we put it that way? I learned that I had to really work for everything I had, and I had to really, nothing was ever going to be given. But the bright side is I also learned when you work hard, you a lot of times get the opportunity to earn it. And so it just set me down a great path. I ended up befriending some startup entrepreneurs from my old hometown, and they brought me on board to sell because although I didn't have a technical bone in my body, I was very good at talking to people, and I could convey very complex scenarios and concepts, right? And so I naturally became a salesman, and we grew with those guys, had several very successful exits in the corporate space, and I finally got tired of living out of a suitcase. So that's ultimately what found me getting into real estate. Is I thought, well, I would like something a little bit more calm. So I very stupidly chose real estate investing because there's nothing calm about that. And so I ended up getting my real estate license just to be a better investor, because every time I'd bring a really great opportunity to a real estate agent, they couldn't negotiate their way out of a paper bag. So they bugger in the deal for me. I got my own license, and the rest was kind of history.
Yeah, well, fantastic. And then you've been married for a while?
Yes. Yeah. So my first marriage, I've been married twice. Some people call me a slow learner. So, so I guess they say you do it right the second time around, and I certainly feel I have. I've married the best human being I've ever known in my life. But for my first marriage, I've got 2 beautiful girls. Liz and I have 2 beautiful girls, and we're just, being a dad of 4 little girls is just crazy. I mean, even the dog is a girl. I'm so outnumbered in this house. There's just no hope for me. That's why I stay here. Like, this is my office. I lock the door. I put a no girls sign allowed on the door.
That's funny. Oh man, I don't know. I have a feeling that those are some very lucky little girls, and you know how to take care of yourself, I think.
I do.
Although I don't know that the Marines did the Marines prepare you for being the father of 4 little girls? I don't know.
Nothing to prepare me for that. Uh, it was the most amazing. It's like a part of it. My mom said it so well. And my mom's always been one of the most poetic and beautifully spoken people I've ever met in my life. And she said to me, having kids wakes up a part of your soul that you didn't even know existed. And I kind of thought it was balderdash until I held that little guy. I was like, I get it. I never would
Yep.
have gotten it. It's amazing.
No, it just, there's nothing like that to, like you said, bring out resources that you didn't know you had. And
Mhm.
I remember my mom saying, oh, my grandmother told my mom, because she was like, oh, I'm not sure if could I love another baby as much as I love the first one? What if I don't love it as much? And she just said, don't worry, they bring their own love with them, so you don't have to worry.
So
But
true.
yeah, your whole life is around, okay, wow, these beings, and then at this point, I'm older than you are, but legacy. I'm in that last 30 of my life. What legacy I'm going to leave for these beautiful creatures and their kids, which I think are going to start coming here in the next couple of years. But
Oh, good.
anyway, thanks for that little personal diversion. I really
Of
love
course.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's give us a typical client. Like one of your perfect people that just you've had so much fun working with, or the feedback that you've gotten, what you save them. Just like run people through what's it like to like buy your course. I think you have a standalone do-it-yourself course, and then you also have supportive resources available for those people should they need it. So what does it look like for someone?
Yeah, my favorite guy was a guy named Wes. I got to change the names to protect the innocent here. But I live in Merritt Island, Florida, which is on the Space Coast, right near Kennedy Space Center. So it's where SpaceX is, and NASA and Blue Origin. You get all these literally surrounded with rocket scientists around here. It's wild. And the so had an airplane up at the municipal airport here that I was tinkering with, and my friend Wes was the one of the head electrical engineers in the space shuttle program. I mean, just an IQ that would like boil water. I mean, it was unbelievable. So we get to talking, and he tells me he was thinking about selling his house, and he was wondering if I knew any good real estate agents, and that's how it always happens too. By the way, it's so funny. I guess people just forget that I'm a real estate agent, so they're like, "Hey, do you know any good ones?" And
We
I'm
know
like,
you're not one, but do you know any good ones?
"Yeah, yeah." I'm like, "Should I be offended? I mean, do you are you just saying because you automatically default aren't using me, or?" But it was funny because here is this guy who built the electrical systems on this space shuttle, and he's asking for help to sell a house. And so I kind of took him by the hand. I said, Wes, are you capable of using a spreadsheet? Are you capable of answering the phone? Are you capable of what a lot of people don't realize? And my industry, and I'm guilty of this as well because I've contributed to this industry we've spent billions and billions of dollars convincing homeowners and investors that selling a real estate asset is going to put you in legal jeopardy. It's scary. You're going to leave money on the table. You're just going to fail and look really dumb in front of all your friends and family. So why not just give it to an agent because we're going to do it better for you? And I think that's a harmful message for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't necessarily think it's entirely true. But number two, it leaves out a giant fact. You are the subject matter expert on that piece of real estate because you've woken up in it. You've gone to sleep in it. You've had coffee in the morning. You've watched 4th of July fireworks from the backyard. You know which stair creaks when you're trying to sneak in late at night and not wake everybody up. You know more about that house. And myself, my history in sales, the more familiar I was with the product I was selling, the more intimate knowledge I had of it, the better I was as a sales guy. I don't think there's any reason out there why we should ever assume that I should be able to do any better at selling your home than you do after touring your house for 30 minutes on a random Tuesday at a listing appointment. Where the real talent comes into this is how do we present the asset? Do we have the wherewithal to know what photo should come first? How do we describe the home? Is it beautiful? We live in a day and age where people make a decision whether to press the button on your home or not when they're scrolling through Zillow. They have about 0.7 seconds to hook people. And that attention span is getting shorter every day.
0.7 seconds. Oh,
Point
wow.
0.7. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if if you don't have a gorgeous photo, and please, again, do not start posting your home with these crime scene photos with a laundry hamper in the corner, or the frame is crooked and it just looks like there's a ghost in the corner. You're just, I mean, don't bother. Hire a real estate photographer. They are worth their weight in gold. The ROI great real estate photos give you is it's practically incalculable. I would never go to market without that. I and how do we do things like open houses? How do we handle how do we spike scarcity and urgency at an open house? Well, the first thing you do, in my opinion, is you strategically underprice. You find out all your competition out there, and if you hit the market and you're either at or above them, well, let's use our brains here. If that was the going rate, then why are those houses still for sale? So we can decide, are we going to help them sell their house, or are we going to use them to help us sell? And I prefer to be in the latter bucket. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, strategic
No,
underpricing, short periods of time for open houses where you have lots of people crowding in, crowding out, and that's how you get multiple offers.
yeah, I love that you said that. And for years, ever since I quit my nursing job in 2004, I've been, banging around as an entrepreneur in one way or another. But I have always just hit these people over the head that they want to overprice their property, thinking, well, we can always come down. And I said,
Oh,
no, no,
no.
no. We need to live room always at least 5% below market.
Mhm.
And that will get you, I think back in my early days, one guy that I was working with, I was an agent then, so I had a 5% listing or whatever. And he was like, here's what I gotta get. I gotta get 550 for this thing. And I said, okay, well, let's list it at 499. And he goes, no, no, no. Anyway, so I said, and plus we're going to list it, owner will carry, even though I know you don't want to, but what we want is people, and that has to be like front and center. Owner will carry. That has to be the main point of the advertising,
Yeah.
right? So I love your idea of the great photos. I 100% agree. But then let's list it below market, 51,000 below what you say you want to net out of this thing. And we're going to say owner will carry. And we had, oh my gosh, we were inundated. We had to run it auction style where
Right.
we got so many things in. It's like, hey, submit your highest and best. We're going to do one multiple counter and that's it. And it was like less than a week. We're going to make a decision by Friday. And he got a $550,000 cash offer, just like,
Come on.
and
Oh,
like,
yes.
like in a week.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Right. So, that is the biggest mistake I see people doing is the pricing.
Yep.
Um, and how,
Yeah. People got to treat it like marketing.
yep, yep. And the other thing is just, not knowing if seller financing is right for them. That's a big piece because even if you don't think you want to do it, it just gets more eyeballs. It opens up. There's 20% more buyers that they're not bad buyers. It doesn't mean they can't afford the property or don't have any money. It just means they can't get or don't want to get traditional financing. And for me, I haven't asked a bank for a loan in 26 years. So
Yeah.
I drew a line in the sand. I don't do it. I don't
Yeah.
ask a bank for a loan.
No, I don't want to either. I mean, how else, if you're looking to scale your investment portfolio, you can't be just way down with all this debt to income question. I mean, you need to actually acquire property quick and efficiently. And owner
Mhm.
financing is like the greatest way, in my opinion, to do that.
Yeah, and when the sellers understand that it's actually going to get them not what they wanted, but even more in certain
Mhm.
circumstances, it's really worth like just asking the question and see if it's right. What other big mistakes, like common mistakes, do you see people besides I want to ask you about this because I'm pretty sure you're going to be covering this in your course. Is if you have 10 offers, let's say you did it right, and you have 10 offers coming in, evaluating which one is the best, and it's not always the highest.
That's right.
Okay,
That's right.
so
In fact,
what do you
yeah.
teach people about this? How do you help them prioritize?
Well, there's a number of things. So the what we need to look at is what actually has the highest percentage chance that it's actually going to close. An offer of $1 million on a $500,000 property is worthless if it never closes.
Right.
So, and that is kind of a hard thing for people to understand. Pricing is such a weird thing when you're trying to teach homeowners because there's so much emotion that goes into this.
Right.
Like your past guy saying, "I need to get 550." Guess what, man? The market doesn't care what you need. The market doesn't care what you want. They don't care. Your house, you don't get to decide what the value of your house is. Neither does your real estate agent. Neither does your
Right.
cousin Larry, who was a broker
Yeah.
back in the 70s looking like Ron Burgundy. The only entity out there that gets to decide the value of your home is the buyer, the guy who's writing the check and handing it to you. And guess what? Voila, that is the value of your house. So looking and when the offers come in hot and heavy, it's always great to see a big top line number. But then we got to start looking at the other things. Are there contingencies and what are they?
Right.
If there's a contingent upon another home sale, if somebody says, well, yeah, I'll pay full price for this house, but I got to sell my house out in Alabama first. Okay, I guess. Good luck with that. We're still going to take other offers, but go ahead and submit your offer. If one says, hey, I need a 30-day inspection window because my favorite inspector is on vacation in Hawaii. Sorry, no, we have a 7-day inspection window, and that's all there is to it. And here's one thing. Here's a sleeper item that a lot of people miss, and it's if you take an offer, and let's say prevailing rates on this house is $500,000. It'll comp out at that all day. There's nothing special about your house, and you find a bigger fool out there who's going to offer you 600,000, but he needs financing. Well, you don't need to just convince that fool. You need to make sure that that appraiser that comes out from the lender is also a fool, and they're usually not. They're usually pretty smart at what they do. So if you're in a scenario where you're tempted to do that, you have to, all people are focused on is that top line. I want you to imagine what happens, not if, but when that property fails to appraise. Because if you don't have any kind of an appraisal gap guarantee from the buyer, if you don't have anything that's insuring against that, then you're going to get 45 days into this process. You're going to be off the market. You're going to be shown in a pending situation. Everybody's going to kind of written you off by now. And then that thing's going to fall through and you're going to have to go back on the market. You've lost all your leverage. Now, what does that tell the market? The market has no idea if the buyer fell through, if your lender went bankrupt, if there was a death. They have no idea, but they're going to blame the house. They're going to say, I wonder what the buyer found during due diligence that
Right.
caused them to walk away. And now you're going back on the market and you're not even going to get remotely what the original offers were for because now everybody thinks your house is tainted with some sort of hidden defect. And that's a big problem.
You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. If you don't hit it just right and manage it just right, and honestly, you're almost making the case for hiring a realtor unless you're really capable of
Absolutely.
doing it, because it's those things that if you don't learn from someone who really knows these things, and you're not willing, or it sounds scary, or it's like, oh, I don't want to set boundaries, I don't want to be tough on people, if it's just not in your emotional thing. That's why sometimes a realtor is worth their weight in gold. you know
Absolutely,
just
Don.
to just to a point. I finally closed the beginning of this year. They had a delayed, anyway, a rehab that I did last year, and yeah, I had it priced just fine. It was fine. What I was asking was fine for what all of that. I got an offer within 24 hours, boom, off the market. I hate it. If I'm on the MLS more than 48 hours, I haven't done my job right.
Amen. No, you're so right. You're so right.
Seriously. You just take it, you run, you go, but the appraisal still came in $8,000 less, and I'm just like, do I just take it? Or do I go, no way, go back on the market, and then I'll probably get that much less or more anyway, because just the optics of how it looks in the market. And I just like, you know what? All things considered, I'll just take the $8,000 discount on it and just be done and not deal with this. It doesn't look right.
You
You
probably did the right thing.
yeah,
I
you,
mean,
you lost your advantage,
yeah.
and but anyway, I didn't want to fight the appraisal and all that, but hey, we're kind of wrapping up here. So this has been really fantastic. Is there anything I haven't asked you or you haven't said yet that you want to say before we wrap this up and say, how do we get a hold of Tim?
Yes, absolutely. So I actually put together an investor power pack on my website. That's for anybody in your audience that wants to learn a little bit how this might work out well for investors also, like myself. So it's foolprooffisbo.com/investor. And
Okay, fantastic. I
yeah,
love that.
Yep. And inside that kit, actually, it's funny because we were just talking about appraisals. One of the things I talk about in there is this is a great hack to make sure that you don't have an appraisal gap. And that is you go through your home, write down every single improvement that you've made in each room of your house, especially the ones you can't see with the naked eye that the appraiser is going to miss. It's basically a love letter to your home. You're going to go to the outside. You're going to write down all the improvements you made on the outside. Then you're going to take the comps that helped you justify your market price, staple that together in one package. And when the appraiser gets there during that day, you say, Mr. Appraiser, I know you're busy as heck, and I'm sure you get beat up all the time with all kinds of people telling you don't know how you're doing your job. I'm not doing that to you. I just want you to know there are some upgrades we made to this house that aren't quite obvious. So I took the liberty of putting them together here to make your job easier. And I included the 5 comps that we use to justify the sale of this sale price of this house. I hope this helps you. And I'm telling you, appraisers eat that up because they're just like you and me. They want to do the least amount of work to get their job done. So if they can have an opinion of value that's backed up by evidence like that helps almost. I've never had an appraisal gap happen in my life when my clients have done that.
People, if that's at least a $10,000 idea right here,
Mhm.
if not much more. So that's a very proactive, powerful way to position yourself. So for tips like these, I mean, I think on a free podcast, if you get stuff like this, just imagine what you can get if you interact with Tim. And I feel like he's a really solid guy. Otherwise, I ask the personal questions because it really matters what kind of a person. I don't care. Oh, we have this deal that we've worked out. We have a little affiliate relationship. It doesn't matter. I can't be bought. I doubt Tim can be bought either. Either
Not anymore.
it feels good or it doesn't. So
Right.
wait, it's foolproof, and I'm going to put the link in that in the show
Thank you.
description. Foolproof Fisbo
Dot
FSBO.com.
com.
And then
Yep.
if you're an investor / investors or
hmm
investor.
Both. I actually did both because I
You
know there
both
would be
took the
guys like
cake?
me listening who are deaf.
Okay.
So
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate you setting that up. And I look forward to talking with how we can offer some more owner financing options within what you're doing, because I think this is gonna, I think you're gonna do really well. I'd be surprised if you just don't blow up with all this stuff.
uh,
And the more information, my frustration is the investors were in rooms where we hear about these things, but Main Street mom and pops, they don't hear about this stuff. They don't hear it from their agent, their attorney, their title company, their CPA, their financial advisor, right? Either because they don't know or they have a conflicting interest.
It is, and it's maddening because I've had scenarios where I had a guy who was taking for same, so it's a very similar situation to what you had, where he says, I need to get this amount of money. And usually I would walk away from those. I just don't work with those people because they're unreasonable. But this was a family friend. I found myself personally involved, which again, lesson learned, never do that again. But he was sitting on the market for months. It was embarrassing to me as well because my reputation is usually I'm off the market in the first weekend, and we had somebody approach us, offer him above his asking price if he would carry the financing for 5 years, and this guy wouldn't do it. I was like, "Are you nuts?" I mean, I there couldn't have been a better advocate for him to take this deal than me because I'm such a believer in private financing and staying out of the big banks. And oh my gosh, there's just and I really could have used there. I needed a little Don Rickbo on my shoulder, my good angel, to sit there and talk to this guy and say, "Listen, guy, you need to check this out," because there was no swaying him. And he ended up selling for like 25,000 under what he could have got with these other guys. And
But
uh,
then, and then how many months of carrying costs he washed the
Amen. And opportunity costs. He
opportunity
was
cost?
making dual payments.
Oh man. So yeah, he shot himself in the foot there.
Yes.
That's for
Yeah.
sure. But well, Tim, thank you so much for being on the show. We'll probably swing back around later on this year, maybe,
I would
and
love that.
see how
Yeah.
things are going. So, all right, guys, go over to foolprooffisbo.com. Check Tim out, and you can also come over to NoteQueen.com. If you don't know anything about owner financing, I've got a do-it-yourself owner financing course for sellers, particularly angled towards landlords who they need the income for retirement. They want to sell quickly and easily for the best possible price. They want to defer capital gains and they want to leave a great inheritance for their kids. So I've got that over at notequeen.com. And I also do a monthly free, actually, I'm doing twice a month free Zooms. So if you just want to check out this conversation, you've never heard of it before. Of course, if you're on my channel, you've probably heard of it before. But just in case you're new, Property and Paper Live, we do it on the first and the third Tuesdays of every month. So I'd love to have you engage with our citizens of the realm community over at notequeen.com. All right, Tim, you have a great day and we'll be following up.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Don. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.